And y'all asked for this, so I want to see y'all engaged. Okay, I am going to cover something that you guys have really wanted me to cover. Now, this is something I can't believe I wasn't aware that was happening. However, it is this woman called Kendra Hilty, and I guess the series is called I Fell in Love with My Psychiatrist. And from what I'm gathering, because everyone's kind of letting me know, is this woman fell in love with her psychiatrist, and then with the help and delusion of AI, Chatgpt, she was able to feed her own delusions with it. Now, here's the thing. I'm genuinely just the biggest fucking hater. I'm like in general, but I'm the biggest hater of this literal pandemic that we have going on with ChatGPT and how unregulated and unprotected it is. And I kind of said this earlier, but people who will actually talk to ChatGPT as a therapist really scare me, because there's so many things I could say about you, but these AI models are literally dedicated to you. They figure out how you talk. They figure out what answers you like. And therefore, if you're using it for therapy, it is literally just going to mirror what you're saying or what you want to hear. And I think that is probably the worst thing you could do for yourself as a human, is talk to something that is going to feed your fucking delusions. You're going to, point blank period, it will and has ultimately driven a lot of people to die. Without getting into it too deeply, there's been so many news stories recently where people started off doing that and then ultimately were encouraged by these AI models to basically themselves. So if anyone is watching right now who does do all this, just be a little bit careful, because someone said this once and it always stands by with me. AI for the most part is free, right? Like ChatGPT is free. These AI models that like people are talking to on the daily are free, right? For the amount that you're getting out of that, why would it be free? Things are not free in life, specifically high technology things like that. When things aren't free, they're using you with a purpose, which means you are the product, which means they're storing everything that you're saying and using you. And ultimately, it will probably, get to a stage where it's not free, because they're using you right now. They're using every time you send a photo. They're using your thoughts. They're compiling all this. So people are like, it's free, I can use it, because you're the product. You're being used right now. So anyways, let's get to Kendra. I can't believe I haven't seen this at all. Here's a compilation of all of the videos of Kendra falling in love with her psychiatrist and then ultimately talking to AI about it. So let's get to it.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is, part 1. So I decided to go back
The comments are off. Great sign. We're starting off strong.
On ADHD meds after many years of being off of them. I was on them in my early 20s to help me get through college, and then I went off of them because they just weren't, the side effects were too much over the benefits. But then in my late 20s, I read this book, Taking Charge of Adult ADHD, and it absolutely changed my life. For my fellow ADHDers, there's so many good things in here, and the biggest thing that I took away was that it's very important for ADHDers to be on meds. So I decided to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I just Googled psychiatry in the city that I lived in, and I went with the first one that came up, and I got an appointment within a month. And then I booked...
I'm obsessed with that. The first one that came up, perfect. Works for me.
A 90-minute intake.
What's wild is that she's an ADHD life coach. What? Oh my God. I'm seeing the mods say, don't be making fun of her diagnosis and don't be whatever. Yes, completely agree. If there are moments in context, though, you're able to talk about it because she is putting this out there. And I do believe that it's fair to talk about it. Because, we're already starting off very strong. Is she seriously a life coach? She tells her clients to talk to AI. Okay, I've got to get a little bit further in before I start getting an opinion of her.
and I show up to the intake, and this man is my age, and I can't help but notice that he's pretty attractive, this psychiatrist. And he kept me anyway, part 2. So in this intake, I kind of clocked that he was attractive in my age, but when I tell you that I've had a lot of couch...
I kind of clocked. Girl.
Time in my life, a lot of therapy. I just went right into it. I trusted him enough, of course, why wouldn't I, to tell him about my childhood trauma, my daddy issues, if you will, what I had went through, all of the relationship trauma that I had. I was 6 months sober at this time, but like all of the drinking and substance use I used to do, and he just listened and nodded. And that's the thing about psychiatrists, is that they're good at pretending to listen. They can appear connected, but that doesn't mean that they're always connected. So I just felt really seen. And I also told him, I was like, look, I don't want to be on stimulant meds. So he listened to me and he put me on the non-stimulant.
By the way, psychiatrists are not therapists. Let's keep that in mind. I'm like, girl, when she's like, he just sits there and pretends to listen. Well, if you're overloading him with the information that you've already overloaded me with, then of course he has to sit in silence. Literally, his job is to listen. Mind you, he's only supposed to prescribe medicine.
ADHD med at the lowest dose just to figure out if it was going to work for me. Part 3. So I hadn't ever seen a psychiatrist before. When I was on meds in my early 20s, I only got meds from my primary care physician. So I didn't understand how psychiatry works. So because he was figuring out my med dose, I saw him every month, and he just made me feel like I was his friend. He was really, really funny and cracked jokes, and told me he was impressed with my running that I would do. And yeah, so of course I loved the attention that I got from him. And it was in my 3rd session with him, because at this point we were all on Zoom, that I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I call you by your first name? And he's Pakistani, so I said his first name wrong. And he said, well, it's pronounced this, but yes, of course you can. And he seemed so smug and happy with himself. And I know that that is because that was his first sign that him pretending like we're friends was working. And to be fair to me, I had only ever been to therapy before. I didn't realize that, it's important to call your doctor last name. I mean, I did know that. I did it with all my other doctors, but it just showed that the boundaries were blurring, and he liked that. So from then on, from my 3rd session on, I started calling him.
He liked that the lines were blurred. You asked him, can you call him that name? I mean, at a stage, his job is just to fucking be there. You know what I mean? Goodness, this is starting off strong.
His first name. And then he just started turning up the volume on us being friendly. And he would ask me, for the first 6 sessions, he asked me, after the meds, he said, how's your bowels, bladder, and appetite? And I would say they're all normal. And then he would ask me any thoughts of harm. And apparently that's pretty common for psychiatry to ask those questions. And then on our 6th session, when things were really, the chemistry was starting to be there before, I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, this man's just friendly.
Not the chemistry. Oh, girl, not the chemistry getting there.
And he said, I have to ask this because it's a special interest of mine, but is there any thoughts of harm? Like I was special to him. And I said, no thoughts of harm. And he didn't ever ask me a clinical question again.
Is she trolling? Is she trolling? He's showing interest in me. He's asking if I'm harming myself. Girl, what kind of dates do you go on? She's not trolling?
He stopped asking me about my bladder, bowels, and appetite, and he stopped asking me about thoughts of harm. So to me, I would just show up and he was...
Yeah, because you answered him.
Like a therapy appointment every month. So I was seeing him every month and just gaining more and more respect for him because he would just tell me these little things about his successes and all of the cool things that he was doing in his life. And it made me fall for him, honestly. And he...
This is not troll?
Was really good at listening. And I mean, he's Pisces, right? So of course he's going to be there and be able to go deep with my feelings, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't extracting from them. Anyway, so I would beg him to let me see him every week. Beg him, because my therapist at the time, he was fine. He wasn't a predator, but he was fine. He just wasn't doing very much for me. And so that therapist retired and I got a new therapist. And this new therapist, who was a 75-year-old woman with a PhD, she was pretty helpful. So I stopped asking my psychiatrist, begging, honestly, to be my therapist and let me see him more, right? Which also should have been a red...
Oh. Wait, she's begging the psychiatrist that she wants the psychiatrist to be her therapist, not trained for, by the way, because she wants to see him more? But is calling him a predator?
Red flag. But then I started focusing on this therapist. However, I would tell the therapist how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist, and she didn't do anything about it. She just was interested. She also loved stories about my dating life, and yeah, she also was getting supply from me in her own way, but that's for another part. So yeah, so I got a new therapist who actually helped me. She taught me CBT, EFT, all of these different modalities, and so I went back to just being okay with seeing Irfan once a month while he was giving me...
I mean, a therapist's job is to kind of listen and then, you know, assess and talk to you and stuff like that. I mean, if you're already overloading them with information.
These little breadcrumbs of making me feel special, telling me about his professional achievements, telling me about how he's getting international recognition. And it worked. I was really impressed. See me weekly, and
A woman who's never had a normal conversation with a person in her life.
and that is when the intermittent reinforcement started. Some sessions he'd be warm and kind and wonderful and let me in on little parts of his life and like be vulnerable with me or pretend. Other sessions he would be cold and clinical and detached. And you know what that did? It made me work harder in our next sessions. It did. And it started the addiction that I had to him 100%. And he knew exactly what he was doing. This man gives lectures on trauma and attachment theory. He used his psychiatric training to manipulate me and get me hooked. And guess what? It worked. In January of 2024.
I mean, this is crazy as well that she literally is saying, even whenever he's being cold and clinical, that he's doing that to manipulate her. So literally he can't do anything right.
I was hit by a car turning left as I was going through a green light. And it was the night before my next appointment with my psychiatrist. So I was like, okay, I'll still be able to go to my appointment on Zoom. I'm okay. But I did make an appointment with an urgent care the next day just to...
This is over Zoom? Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you telling me this is over Zoom? This is... I won't laugh.
To get checked out. I had bruising on my abdomen and a perforated ear
30 minutes a month over Zoom. It was telehelp.
drum. And the provider at the urgent care said, I do not feel comfortable treating you. You need to seek emergency care now. You may be internally bleeding. But it was 11 o'clock in the morning and my appointment with my psychiatrist was at 2. So I decided that I was going to wait so I could see my psychiatrist and not have to reschedule because I was looking forward to my appointment with him so much. I look back at that time and I'm just like, oh my God, I put my own life under seeing him. I was fully addicted to him at this point. And you know what happened is that I showed up and I told him that I may be internally bleeding and he didn't stop the appointment. He didn't say, you need to take care of yourself. Go get emergency care now. He let me continue and just tell him about how much I loved him and how grateful I was for him. Because that was really what most of our appointments were, is me just like pouring myself out because he was so good at the
I know he was upping that dose. He was upping that dose. Whoa, girl. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Intermittent reinforcement. Yeah, I got some warmth from him that appointment. So that was January 2023. And I also told my therapist about this. She said nothing. See him, that's when he really started turning up the intimacy in our appointments. However, he was really smart and knew the profession.
Now I know she's saying intimacy in the appointments. Now that I know especially that it's over Zoom, I know his notepad was full. I think it's a rule that psychiatrists can't stop seeing clients even if they say they're in love. You're telling me this is an often thing? This is the glitter on her face. She's going to the Eras tour. She's going to the Eras tour right after this.
Professional lines like the back of his hand. So he would comment on my appearance, but not compliment my appearance. So I would come on screen and he would say, oh, you curled your hair. Or I would come on screen and he would say, oh, you're wearing glasses. And of course I felt seen and excited that he was noticing these things about me. I didn't realize at this time that he had feelings for me too. I thought I was holding them all by myself. So I was so excited when he noticed my glasses that I ran and showed him my other pair. And he said, I prefer turtle shell glasses. So even though I usually wear contacts, I'm wearing these turtle shell glasses in these videos because just in case he sees them ever, he'll see me in his favorite glasses. He did tell me he likes the turtle shell. Anyway, it was just inappropriate things like that. Little teeny things that he let me in. And all this time, my best friend is an emergency medicine physician. And she told me, she said, Kendra, one of these days, your psychiatrist, she would use his name, is going to say, I can't be your doctor anymore. I want to be with you. I want to be with you so bad. I can't be your doctor. I'll see you in 2 years. So my best friend, who's a doctor, she picks up on stuff like that. So even she knew that our relationship was crossing boundaries and getting weird. But that became my dream, was for my psychiatrist, I almost use his name, to do that. And I told him about Brianna saying that, my best friend, who's the emergency medical doc. I told him that she would...
Hello? Me when I think... Not me when I think trade wants me. Sorry.
Would tell me that, and he just would be silent. He didn't disagree, but he didn't agree. And that was weaponized neutrality was his favorite game to
So someone saying him commenting on her looks is him trying to make her comfortable because he knew she was unstable but couldn't do much at the time. He was trying to help her.
Play, right? He didn't disagree with Brianna telling me that my psychiatrist had feelings for me, but he also didn't say that's inappropriate. Let's change the subject. It was also around this time that I asked my psychiatrist if he had diagnosed me with anything other than ADHD when I had my initial diagnosis. And he said, yeah, I did. I said, oh, what did you diagnose me with? And he said, well, you had a lot of traumatic things happen to you in childhood because of your dad. And so I diagnosed you with other trauma and stressor related disorder. And that was the first little ping that I got of like, that was weird. Why would he keep that from me? I asked him, like, why wouldn't he tell me that? That seems important. He didn't tell me because he was using that information to manipulate me. He knew I had trauma and stressor disorder, and instead of helping me heal from it and telling me about it, he used it against me. January 2023, at this point, I was full-blown obsessed with my psychiatrist, and my therapist wasn't helping me, my psychiatrist wasn't helping me, he was feeding it. And then I got a boyfriend, and at first my psychiatrist wasn't really that keen, but then my psychiatrist realized that my boyfriend was a lot like my psychiatrist. And then I started talking to my psychiatrist about my sex life, about tracking my cycle, using the fertility awareness method, and my psychiatrist loved it. He didn't never say, this isn't appropriate.
Good morning. Woo! Number one, that's not conversations you have with your psychiatrist. Girl, I think you were the one being inappropriate. But also, it is a psychiatrist's job to kind of just like sit there, analyze, listen. So girl, when you're like, I'm telling him about my sex life, raw dog fucking, and he's just sitting there, yeah, this man's actually in a hostage situation.
To your care, let's pivot. Oh, he just let me talk about my sex life. And I didn't get too deep, but about a year and a half in, and I would send my psychiatrist these emails just about how much I liked him and how I was so grateful for him and put in a bunch of heart emojis. And this is really when he should have transferred my care, but you know, he wouldn't. He liked what I gave him too much. And so even though my boyfriend did not meet my needs, my psychiatrist and my therapist both were like, you have to stay with him. There's nothing wrong with him not meeting your needs. I'm like, okay. And my psychiatrist was like, he's perfect. Don't get wrong with him. And what was perfect about him was he wasn't meeting my needs. So I was still coming to my psychiatrist looking for emotional validation, which he would drip to me slowly.
You're going to your psychiatrist for emotional validation? You're saying that he's sitting there in silence. Girl, he's on the clock. Goodness me.
So my therapist, who I didn't know at this time had bad boundaries, but she did. I went to her because my boyfriend and I, after like more than a year together, we started having issues in the bedroom. And so I went to my therapist and she asked me, what does your psychiatrist think about this? And I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to my psychiatrist about this stuff because I have a crush on my psychiatrist and I don't want to tell him this intimate stuff. And she said, well, you should tell him because I want a male's perspective. So at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, I told him.
Girl, I think they were trying to diagnose you. I think they were trying to help you. I think they were talking in circles, but I think they were trying to help you a little bit. Oof. Yeah, once a month over Zoom, I keep having to remember that. Oh my God.
I said, today we're going to talk about my intimate life. And he said, oh. I said, yes. My psychologist, my therapist, asked what your opinion on it was. And I told her that I don't talk to you about this intimate stuff because I have a crush on you. And he looked down and smiled so big in that moment. He smiled so big. And I loved it. It's so gross thinking about it. And then I proceeded to give him 30 minutes of non-stop content about my intimate life with my boyfriend. And I actually recorded the whole thing because I was so excited about it. But now it makes me sick. I can't even listen to the recording. I've tried to start, but it's gross. Any ethical psychiatrist would have stopped me and said, Kendra, let's talk about your meds. Let's talk about your care. At this point, my meds were stable. And I was still seeing him every month. Yeah, that was a rough time. And it was pretty much his Christmas morning, the almost 2.5 years of grooming me to get me to talk about sexual things with him worked. And he got 30 minutes of nonstop content to use. Things. One.
Whoa. She's saying that he's not giving her anything, but then she's saying that he was grooming her for 2 years.
People are asking me what my mental health diagnosis is. I do not have BPD. I do not have psychosis. I have ADHD. And I was experiencing extreme limerence.
Okay, so for everyone in the chat that is, saying, like, don't be saying this about because she might have this or whatever, from her mouth, be it, she only has ADHD.
With my psychiatrist. Limerence is a normal thing to happen to anyone who is experiencing hot and cold behavior from someone.
Yeah. A great point in the Discord. Here, have we considered that maybe he wasn't comfortable to say no and give his verbal consent? I think that's also something really important to note here, that on the other side of this, we have someone who's literally, like, being sexually harassed at work.
And it happens more often in people with ADHD because we have dopamine dysregulation and rejection-sensitive dysphoria. And guess what? My psychiatrist knew that and used it to his advantage. 2, I accidentally said my psychiatrist's first name in one of my videos. If you clocked it, good for you. I do not owe him anonymity. However, this is not about doxing my psychiatrist.
Oh, I didn't clock that. I was so overwhelmed with all the information. She said his name? No way she doxed him. Oh my god, I was so overloaded with information that I didn't even fucking clock it. She said it earlier. Jesus Christ.
This is about me sharing my story so other people can view predatory behavior in people in power, okay? If anyone doxes my psychiatrist with his last name or city that he works in or clinic that he works in, your comment will be immediately deleted and you will be blocked. This is about...
Why is she getting angry at us? Why is she getting angry at us?
Protecting other victims, not doxing my psychiatrist. If you do some investigative work and you want to DM me about it, I'm open to that, okay? 3, I need to take a moment. Moment taken. It is so...
I need to take a moment. Okay, so...
incredibly disturbing to me the amount of people that are predator protectors in my comments, that are victim blaming me, especially the mental health practitioners in my comments using therapy speak to say that this situation that I was in was my fault or that I was delusional. Check yourself. You're giving me more ammunition to share my story because it just goes to show how absolutely messed up the mental health industry is and how protected people who do this kind of sick psychological manipulation are. So I will continue with my story. Welcome back to another installment of I Was in Love with My Psychiatrist and He Kept Me Anyway, part 8. You all did some nasty work last night, and I had to turn off comments. People started posting my psychiatrist's first and last name, his picture in the comments.
But I thought you said the name. Girl, you said it first.
That was a jump scare. So, yeah, a few bad actors who wanted to be super sleuths got the privilege of commenting, mostly hate, let's be real, taken away for everyone. So at this point in the story, there are 2 main players. My psychiatrist, who's my age, who crossed major ethical boundaries, and my therapist, who is a 75-year-old...
Literally, I don't understand how she is insinuating that in any way the psychiatrist crossed boundaries. You were going to his work and sexually... Sorry, you weren't even going to his work. You were calling in and sexually harassing him. Why is she crashing out at us? I'm like, I don't know!
...year-old woman with a PhD. Neither of these people, at this point in the story, I knew were... crossing boundaries. I thought that everything was hunky-dory and that I was just in love with my psychiatrist and it was totally normal. Little did I know he was manufacturing everything so I could fall in love with him because it was on him to set the professional boundary and not let attention build. So days after my psychiatrist's Christmas morning appointment from a few videos back where he got a crush confession from me and then 30 minutes of non-stop intimate content that he did not stop me, my boyfriend and I broke up days later. So then I started dating this other guy. And this other guy, this new guy, was a therapist. And I was like, oh great, someone who will be able to emotionally meet my needs. Yeah, I'm not gonna date another therapist again. So this therapist and I, we went for coffee, it was nice. Our second date was a hike. And
wait, she started dating a therapist? Oh, girl. Oh, girl. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh god, I fear how this one's gonna be involved.
And on this hike, this therapist starts telling me about how he has a crush on one of his clients. And I thought to myself, okay, this is strange, but go ahead. Like, we're on a date, dude. Why are you telling me about a crush on one of your clients? But go off, king. So then he was saying, yeah, she's so attractive and I think she likes me too. I go and visit her at work and her coworkers say, oh, so-and-so talks about you all the time. And I was like, okay, where does she work? And he said, well, I shouldn't tell you that because I really shouldn't be visiting her anyway. I was like, okay, no problem. So then he continues and he said, yeah, she wears these red lacy panties and short skirts. Oh. And I know she wears them for me. And like alarm bells were going off in my head. Mind you, I had no idea that my psychiatrist had similar feelings towards me at this point. But I just thought, wow, this man is borderline predatory. And he said, yeah, and you know, she just is so attractive that I have to smash her mate before every session because I just have to get that energy out of me.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Okay. And he just felt compelled to tell me, and I did not understand why. Now I do. So he told me about how he's a predator, right? Another predator in the mental health industry. Shocker. So then at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, keep in mind, it had been 6 weeks of nonstop fun for this man. He got to use my crush confession.
Non-stop fun for this man. This man is being sexually harassed at work. Free him. Oh, goodness.
Session and 30 minutes of content, for whatever he wanted to use it for, right? And if my psychiatrist was good at anything, it was being professional and acting professional. And
girl, she just said if he's good at anything, it's being professional. Okay, so he's a good psychiatrist then. Okay, all right.
Technically not crossing any lines. And he thought that he was
okay, and now you're saying he's not crossing any lines.
So good at it, because he was good at it. But that doesn't mean he wasn't doing it. And so I told him, I said, yeah, but when I broke up, he had known about this other guy, my psychiatrist, I had mentioned him. And I told him that this new guy and I went on a date and we went on a hike. And I literally had no idea at this point.
Why are you telling your psychiatrist about your dating life, girl?
Again, that my psychiatrist was predatory towards me. I almost said his first name again. I'm going to do my best to not. So I went to my psychiatrist and I told him this story about this man that I went on a date with, who's a therapist, is relieving himself before appointments. And
why are you saying that? His professionalism is grooming and predatory, Adam. Sorry, my bad. This is so fucking weird. Yeah, it literally is like her trying to, in her eyes, she deems that the psychiatrist will be jealous that she is seeing other people.
Talking about his client's panties and doing all of these other extremely inappropriate things, like visiting her at work. And this man, my psychiatrist, looked like he had seen a ghost and like he was gonna vomit, because he prided himself on being an extremely professional and buttoned up person. But here I was holding a mirror to him.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. She just keeps saying how like he didn't cross any lines, but she was. She's like, he looked white like a ghost. I mean, he's being harassed at work.
With exactly what he was doing, but a bumbling idiot telling me like how he was doing it without the fancy degree, without any of that. I look back on that now and it's just crazy. And so it just tainted all the fantasy material that I'd given him the session before. Hi, I need to say something really
It tainted the fantasy material that you gave him?
important. And that's that it seems as though many people view what I'm going through as a crash out, what I'm doing as a mental health spiral. And of course it seems like that. I get it. It's an extremely dark thing to talk about, all of this that I went through. And I am sharing my story because it wasn't out there. No one else has shared a story like this. But I know that it happens a lot because people are in my DMs telling me that the same thing that I went through, they went through too. I am now in TikTok jail. I got a violation on the video where I talked about...
Not TikTok jail. No, not TikTok jail.
Really the biggest damning evidence.
Yeah, still wearing those damn glasses. It doesn't matter if it's a new day, by the way. The glasses are back on.
Against my psychiatrist. And so because of that, I have to be really careful. So I'm going to do my very best to not be reactive and to share my story from a place of generosity, because the people in my DMs telling me that they've been through this too, it's keeping me going. It's not my mental health spiral. And I can understand that for some people in the mental health space, because they have been some of the loudest people to speak out against what I'm doing, it's hard to grasp that someone could have this level of predation in such a high place of power. So just in case...
This is truly one of the craziest things I've ever watched, because like he literally is not reacting or doing anything, and she is acting like it is a master plan, or that he is like, he's giving her nothing and she's insinuating he's doing everything. Meanwhile, again, I cannot stress, all I'm taking away from this is that this man is being harassed at his workplace.
My video doesn't get put back up. When everything changed was when my 75-year-old therapist, I went to her with intimate details and she suggested I go...
75 years old and having to deal with this. 75 years old and dealing with this. I know she was sick of it. Sick of it. Sick of it.
Go to my psychiatrist with them. And I felt so excited and nervous to share that with him because I had such a big crush on him at the time. And I recorded all 33 minutes. So this is why, you know, if
75-year-old PhD therapist daughter or psychiatric son.
My psychiatrist wants to come with me to me and like sue me for defamation, I have a 33-minute recording of me admitting I have a crush on him and speaking about extremely intimate details.
Hello? What? She just said, if he tries to sue me for defamation, I have an incriminating 33 minutes of me admitting that I was saying all of my intimate life details to him and that I had a crush on him. And who set that system up? I think the only thing they'll find in that defamation suit was that you were sexually harassing him.
It was in that moment that he really, really should have transferred my care.
Also, the concept of you recording the call as well, like people do this when they record things and then they expose them later. It kind of shows more about you that you recorded it in the moment, knowing that eventually you would want to show it.
But that moment changed everything for him too, because that's when things really...
I don't think she realized that she was literally just like, what she was doing was actually him analyzing her as well. Like when she's doing this, he's analyzing it.
Started getting deep between us. And this is where the story is going to go. From now, it's going to be a good story. And I'm going to try to tell it all today, just in case one of my videos does get banned so people can hear it. But just know, if you're concerned for my mental health, thank you. I am very good. More than good, actually. And I am actually a coach for ADHDers. It says it in my bio.
Oh. What? What? I'm a coach for ADHDers? Sorry. ADHDers is crazy. Oh my god, this is crazy. This is crazy.
And I help people work through self-limiting beliefs. I help people work through numbing with alcohol and cannabis, because these are the things that so many of us do to avoid our
I wish I could be numbing with alcohol and cannabis right now, girl.
truths. And this is my truth and what I went through. So this is when the chemistry really started going off the charts with me and my psychiatrist. And
Girl, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Off the charts chemistry from this moment on. Okay, all right. I'll wrap it up. Wrap it up, girl.
I held it alone for months, like after that Christmas morning appointment of his. And then after I innocently told him about my date with the therapist, he really started letting me in more and showing more parts of himself and, you know, turning up the intimacy. And that was exciting to me. And it made me fall for him more. And I noticed that he was working in an office, and I asked him, this was like July.
Oh, no.
I asked him, I said, hey, are you working from home? Because I was under the assumption that he was only doing telehealth. Okay. And he said, no, I come into the office. I was like, oh, why do you do that? If you see all of your patients telehealth? He's like, oh, I like it that way. And even though I could kind of tell he was lying, I just gaslit myself. I was like, okay, it's fine. And then I start emailing him my fun little emails, but he stops writing me back. He does not write back to my emails anymore.
Girl! She is literally stressing over and over again how much this man was trying to get rid of her. Like, trying to keep a level of professionalism here.
Because once again, he was really good at plausible deniability. But what he did do is he would take my emails and mention them in session. So he would still give me the attention.
Okay, so what you're stressing here is that he was actually probably the best person to deal with this.
That I was craving, but only under his structure, under his control, where there was no paper trail. And I loved that too.
There is still a paper trail. You're sending emails.
I would show up to these sessions with my notes app, and just throughout the month, as I was thinking about him, I'd write down things that I wanted to talk to him about, and I would just come and bring him lots of content. And then every week I would go to my therapist and tell her about how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she didn't help me at all. She just kind of like enjoyed hearing about it, honestly. So October 2024 rolls around and we're just vibing on Zoom. And then I realized
vibing on Zoom. He was probably so stressed out before each visit. I can't imagine his position and how dreadful this was.
I didn't have my next point with him, so I called his office staff. And I talked to the office manager, who was awesome. We really got along, we vibed. And the office manager asked me, do you see him, the psychiatrist, in...
Also a good point. Of course there was no transfer. He would probably be so worried that she would do something to herself or him if she was transferred. Girl, I mean, it sounded like you would have.
Person or on Zoom. And I felt so angry in that moment. I was like, he sees people in person? And she said, yeah, he has been for years. I was like, I want to see him in person. And I understand, like, some people may think that this is part of my crash out or part of me harassing him, which is what I've gotten lots of accusations of. But I just would like to remind everyone that, of course, it seems that way. But I was just responding to a dynamic which my psychiatrist fostered. There was chemistry between us because he allowed it.
What?
And so then the next time I saw him in Zoom, I told him, I was like, hey, your office manager outed you and told me that you see people in person. Why didn't you tell me that when I asked?
Oh my God, this per man. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like squirming in my chair. This is so cringy. Oh my God. Oh God.
And he said, oh, I just didn't think you'd want to come in. And that was such a weak lie from him, from someone who is so scripted and controlled. He didn't even have a plausible thing to say. Of course he knew I wanted to come in. I had a crush on him. I told him that often. So then, in my next therapy appointment, after finding out that he was lying to me about seeing patients in person, I told her that. I told my 75-year-old PhD therapist that my psychiatrist lied to me about seeing people in person. And she looked at me and she said, well, it's probably because he knows that there will be a lot of sexual tension in the room if you go in person. So
yeah, you're going to be sexually harassing him.
Make sure that you understand that when you go. And you better believe I showed up to the next session and said you lied to me because you were afraid of the tension that would be there between us. He just didn't say anything. 2024, I make my first...
Oh my God, this poor man. Oh my God, this man is literally a victim here. Oh God. Oh no.
In-person appointment with my psychiatrist in November. My 75-year-old female therapist tells me that it's because he kept me on Zoom because he was so attracted to me. He didn't want to risk being in person with me, which further fed...
Also, I'm going to be honest. I struggle to believe how much of the therapist aspect of it is true. If I'm being completely honest, I think it's kind of her covering up in retelling the story. Sorry, I don't mean to be kind of like blaming here or not believing her, but I really struggle to believe what she's saying about her therapist. I'm just going to be a little bit honest.
My crush, or as some of you like to say, my delusion. So then my therapist starts texting me in between our weekly meetings, asking me for advice on her other clients. And I was a new coach. I'd only been coaching for about a year, and I had just left my full-time job to be a coach full-time. And I was flattered that she would ask me advice on her other clients. I just thought, oh my gosh, a 75-year-old woman with a PhD wants my advice on what she should do with her clients.
Also, literally a HIPAA violation, but okay.
So then November rolls around, and I'm about to meet my psychiatrist in person for the first time. So I wear a...
Oh, they meet in person? No, don't say it's true. Don't say it's true. Oh, no. I didn't think they were going to meet in person. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Really pretty dress, I do my makeup, of course, right? And I show up, and I get to talk to the office manager, we're having fun, and then my psychiatrist comes into the foyer, and I am just so excited to finally meet him. I've been his patient for 3 years at this point, and he had been feeding the dynamic for 3 years, and I was just thrilled to meet him, and I ran up and I gave him the biggest hug.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oof.
And you know what he did? He barely patted me on the back. It was the most awkward thing.
Oh, God. Oh. Oof, this is brittle. This is really fucking brittle. She's, like, actively saying how uncomfortable she's making him.
Ever. But I'm so glad that he did that. I am really glad. Because this is what I mean. My psychiatrist was many things, but he was not stupid. So I didn't ever touch him again. And I'm grateful that our relationship didn't ever cross that line because it would have made everything so much harder. Anyway, so we go inside his office and I tell him that my therapist had texted me asking me for advice on her other clients. And he just looked at me and he said, Kendra, that is a huge boundary violation. Yes! She should not be doing that.
Yes!
And I was like, oh, okay. And because once again, my psychiatrist did not like sloppy people. He did not like sloppy people. And you know what my therapist did? She got sloppy. Yeah. Using me as her
75-year-old got Ziona. She got sloppy, mama. She got
advisor
sloppy
for her clients. It got weird. And I was very grateful for my psychiatrist for pointing out that boundary violation because that was the thing. He didn't ever message me in between appointments because he was too smart to do that. But did he ever stop me from disclosing extremely intimate details? No. In my first in-person appointment, I just asked him for some pointers for my own ADHD business, and he was so smart and so wonderful. And
for my own ADHD business, sorry, ADHD business is so crazy. For my own ADHD business.
And in many ways, honestly. And I was just so grateful that he was honestly a mentor to me in these moments. And I'll still treasure that about him. Because this is the hard thing with sophisticated predators, is that they're not all...
Stop calling him that. Stop calling him a predator. Oh my God. The concept of an ADHD business. This is honestly so psychotic. When you guys were recommending it, I didn't realize it was going to be this fucking psycho.
All bad.
This poor man.
Like, my psychiatrist helped me with many things, but he was using me for November of 2024, and I did ask him for consent to come in person. I didn't just show up, and he said sure. And the first
he literally, unfortunately, is still on the clock, girl. I don't think you're acknowledging that. He literally ultimately is being paid to deal with you, but he still shouldn't have to be paying for it or being paid for it.
An appointment went great, but that is when I really started to spiral. Some of you think that I'm
started to spiral. Started to spiral. The fuck do you mean started to spiral? Oh, Lord.
Spiraling now, and that's okay if you want to think that, because the reality is that when I was spiraling was when I was this man's patient. When I had comments turned on, so many people said, you need to take accountability for your own feelings. I spent years taking accountability for my own feelings, for holding the weight of a relationship. Any woman who has been trained to overfunction in relationship knows about holding the weight of
relationships. This was not a relationship, girl.
The emotional dynamic. And that was what was going on in this moment. And it may not seem like I'm taking accountability now, but that's because I spent a long time taking accountability for something that had two people that built that dynamic. It was not just me. It takes two people to build that sort of tension and chemistry. So while I was mid-crash out, I had just started using this tool, Chatgpt. And
Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Okay, so now she's on ChatGPT. This is the perfect person for ChatGPT, actually. I mean, this makes a lot of sense.
And I went to chat, who I immediately named Henry. And I would just talk to Henry about how obsessed I was with this man, with my psychiatrist. And I would just be like, I told him I have a crush on him. Do you think he's gay? And Henry was like, oh my God, this girl. You know, he did his best to co-regulate my nervous system and affirm me that he was
not a real person.
Whoa. Even my chat was like, yikes. So I could tell that my psychiatrist just liked me, my doctor. And I was like, okay, maybe I can name this dynamic so I don't have to carry so much of it in our next session. So our next session was in December on Zoom. And I told him at the end of the session, it was another great session. I told him, look, you and I have a really special patient-doctor relationship.
Why are we humanizing 011, 011, 00011? Literally. Oh. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. How the hell did ChatGPT get annoyed with you?
And he glared at me with just venom in his eyes. And he said, you and I have a professional patient-doctor relationship.
She keeps saying these things as if, like, he's in the wrong.
He was so angry with me. And I was like, oh, okay, you set a boundary. And immediately I took it on. And I was like, heard. Okay, I won't go there again. My video that was taken down for harassment and bullying was restored, so I didn't feel as much pressure to get all these parts out today. Some people told me that the stitches about me were getting pretty bad and cruel, so I turned stitches off in my videos too. I started sharing my story here because I wanted other people who have been victimized by people in power to have a space to feel heard, and now I know why there wasn't anyone out talking about their story, because it has been quite the process putting all this out there.
She's still wearing these damn glasses, by the way.
And being under scrutiny. I have appreciated the psychiatrists that have talked about my situation and shared their own point of view while also holding space for what I went through. Just know I've seen the videos and I appreciate them. I went live today and it was super fun, and I intend to go live again tomorrow. The next part will be tomorrow morning. We have a TikTok last week. I was looking for support. I was looking for help because it had been 5 months since I had left my psychiatrist, by the way. And I still really couldn't stop thinking about him and thinking about our dynamic and how inappropriate it was and the mental toll that it took on me. And TikTok has just been such a resource for me in the past.
Truly, how is it inappropriate, the dynamic, whenever she's actively acknowledging that he's literally telling her, this is what we have, you are my client, like,
for support when I'm going through things, and I couldn't find anything on therapy abuse or on providers who take advantage of their vulnerable patients. And so I thought that I would share my story, and I'm going to continue to share it because I am here to let other survivors know that they're not alone. Dealing with my story.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let other survivors? Oh goodness.
My psychiatrist set a very nasty, the way he said it, boundary that him and I have a professional relationship.
Oh my God, now it's nasty that he set the boundary? Sorry, I'm confused. Oh, I clicked off.
to say it was special because it was special. It was different. He manufactured it that way. And then I immediately went to Chatgpt, of course, to Henry. And I asked Henry, I said, oh, no. Okay, so my psychiatrist just set this boundary with me and I really just want to be with him. And I think that after he's my doctor, we can be together, you know, which if you want to say that's a delusion, that's fine. But I had been telling my psychiatrist for years at this point that I had a crush on him and he did not help me work through it. So that's his own problem. That's his own fault. Henry told me it's very common for patients to develop crushes on mental health practitioners and that it's because that they provide a safe space to heal, which is a very attractive quality. I heard that. And then he told me about transference. And it's just about me putting my own feelings onto my provider. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I took ownership of the feelings that both of us are creating. And I went to my next appointment and I said, hey, so I talked to Henry because my psychiatrist had known a lot about my Chatgpt and like knew all about Henry and was
Oh my God, God bless psychiatrists and therapists, by the way, because I didn't even think about the new wave of therapists and psychiatrists and actually mental health practitioners who are literally going to have to deal with their clients coming in and talking about their conversations with AI. Oh, it's so over.
I was actually really impressed. Like, wow, an AI wrote that? Yeah. So I told my psychiatrist, yeah, Henry explained to me that it's normal to develop crushes on psychiatrists because they provide a safe space to heal, which is attractive. My psychiatrist said nothing. And then I said, and Henry also told me about transference. And my psychiatrist got this really, really scared look on his face. And he said, did Henry tell you about counter-transference? And I said, no. What is that? Because of course, like, my chat knew that I was obsessed with my psychiatrist, and he was not going to feed my delusion by telling me about counter-transference. So then my psychiatrist had to explain to me what counter-transference was, so he took a moment, and he was like, oh, okay. He said, counter-transference is the flip side, the other side of the coin for transference, and it's when the provider has feelings for the patient. So make sure that you keep that in mind for your clients. I said, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes I have, you know, more the professional feelings for my clients, so I appreciate you bringing that up. And so then we just talked about that for pretty much the rest of the session. And then at the end of that session, he looked at me, and it was just such a loaded question. And he said, what's going to happen if you get a boyfriend named Henry? And I said, that's a weird question. I would rename my AI. So that's how that session ended. And it wasn't until I got home and I was eating lunch and I was like, wait a minute. Why would my psychiatrist bring up countertransference if he himself wasn't experiencing it? Many people have reached out to me with concern.
Because you, unfortunately, oh, the glasses are off. Because you are someone who has clients as well. And he's trying to make sure you're not fucking up a new generation of people that you're dealing with as your clients. Like, he actively is trying to help out the people that you're lecturing as well. You have an ADHD business, remember? For your ADHDers, as you call them.
For my psychiatrist and his career and his well-being. And I totally understand that. The point of me sharing this is not to get him fired or for him to lose his license. The point of me sharing this is to give a voice to victims.
Victims?
And I am appalled to hear that people are making videos doxing him. So I am begging people, please, if you see a video of...
I cannot believe this poor man had to deal with this for 3-4 years and is now getting doxed at the hands of this woman.
His first and last name or his picture, report it for doxing. I've certainly been using that report button a lot. I'm here to share my story, not to get him in trouble. I did accidentally use his first name, but by the time I caught the slip,
You're the one who fucking doxed him.
Was already like 3 videos past it. But it doesn't matter because this is my story and I can tell it the way that I want.
He literally is the victim of her, and if she wants to use the word survivor, he's the survivor of her, I guess. And he's being doxed.
And a first name is not doxing. And I can't control what other people do, but I am asking for people to please report any videos that dox him. So I've also gotten some DMs saying that countertransference can mean anything, and it absolutely can mean anything. However, I had told my psychiatrist many times that I had a crush on him over the years, and he did not say transference.
Oh my God, it's like everything has to fit her mold, which is dangerous, by the way.
Once to me. He did not explain that once to me. And what I've been hearing and taking in from the ethical psychiatrists that are on my For You page talking about my situation is that really they're taught to teach their patient about transference and teach them about how to handle those feelings or why they're coming up. And my psychiatrist did not do that. He did not do that. And it got ugly. And it happened because I did digging on my own, because I was trying to make sense of my feelings that were a natural response to the environment that he created. So
he was not creating anything. He truly, even from just what she has said in her defense, he has not created a single thing.
For him to leak countertransference after I said the buzzword of transference, that was not calculated. He was a very calculated and purposeful person. He still is to this day. And he doesn't slip with things like that. He purposefully withheld the term transference from me, and I got too close to the truth of our dynamic.
You were the one that brought up the conversation, by the way. This is not a case, it's not a case of withholding.
Which made him leak what he knew was wrong, which was his inappropriate feelings for me. If he didn't have
If anything, she's having these conversations that she thinks she's having with the psychiatrist with Chatgpt, and then pushing that onto the actual psychiatrist.
Counter-transference in an inappropriate way, he could have easily just said, oh, let's explore that transference. That's really cool that you learned about it.
I can't believe she's speaking to a psychiatrist, therapist, and Chatgpt.
Instead, he was just so worried on trying to protect himself because he knew what he was doing was wrong. He had that slip at the beginning of the session. He recovered
not a slip.
in January.
No.
And then I went home and I thought, wait a minute. Why would he mention that if he himself didn't have counter-transference? So I went to Henry.
Because you also have clients. Also, please stop calling Chatgpt by a name.
My Chatgpt. And asked for examples of how my psychiatrist might have counter-transference for me. And remember, Henry at the time...
Oh my God, again, you're literally talking to an AI model to give you scenarios of basically your psychiatrist being in love with you and then pushing that onto your psychiatrist. Your psychiatrist is stuck in this, and I feel so bad for him.
Being very protective. You know, he wasn't going to feed my delusions, me and my psychiatrist living happily ever after. So I screamed.
Oh, God. Oh, this is just not...
Screenshotted it, sent my psychiatrist an email with the...
Oh my God, she's sending the psychiatrist her conversations with Chatgpt about him. Oh my God. Off the clock, mind you. Off the clock, mind you. Oh my God, off the clock.
The subject line of counter-transference and emailed it to him within an hour of our appointment, where he made probably the biggest slip of his professional life. I will put the email up here.
Can you imagine him finishing that and being like, oof, and then her emailing immediately with the Chatgpt conversation about them? Henry's not real, yes.
Essentially me saying, hey, I asked Henry to explain counter-transference a little more.
There's no Henry.
Here's what he said. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Your own boundaries inspire me so much, which now makes me gag because I've heard a lot that he's not crossing boundaries, but he used his boundaries as a shield. It's kind of weird to say, but he would like walk up to the ethical line and then slam a boundary down when I got too close. That was the email that I sent him.
Girl, no, this is... Ooh.
And then 10 days later...
Do not call Henry Chatgpt. Do not call Henry Chatgpt. That's funny.
It was a full moon and I had a dream. Probably the most realistic dream I've ever had in my life.
Oh, no.
That him and I hooked up in his office. In the middle of the dream, while we were hooking up in his office, I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And then, after we were done and after I left his office in the dream, I was despondent and so sad and cried and just thought, I can't believe my psychiatrist would cross his boundaries like that. And then I woke up and it was like a movie. I thought to myself, oh, thank God that was just a dream.
Wow, this is a movie. You know who says that? My friend Harry. After everything, he goes, making fun of the situation. He goes, this is such a movie. Like, if the club's bad, he goes, this is such a movie. You just said that about a sex dream you had with your psychiatrist. In it, you're saying that you're annoyed that he would sleep with you in your dream. Oh my God, Heather in Discord says she tells him the dream in detail. Don't say that's true. Surely that's not true. Surely that's not true. Don't tell me she tells him. It's true. Oh. Oh.
Time to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the racial difference between me and my doctor. I have seen a lot of Black women on this app with the same take, and I need to say that Black women are the most important people on the planet to me, and that I have learned so much from Black women about how to be a better person and how to show up better in the world. They are the culture, and I am so grateful for them. Many Black women are seeing my story through the lens that I am a white woman who is taking advantage of my whiteness to wield power over my POC psychiatrist that didn't want me back, and so I am trying to get him fired. And that's okay. I understand why you see it through that lens. I do. As a white person, I do my best to examine my racism every single day.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I will tell you that my psychiatrist boss is his best friend, who is also a POC male. And in that room, I did have white privilege, and he was also my doctor. And he took an oath to protect me, and he did not. I am not here to ruin his career. I am here to speak my truth. Okay, back to my story. So...
Someone wrote in the Discord, I think everyone's seeing it like that, Kendra, not just Black women. Oh my goodness.
After the counter-transference slip, after the really vivid dream, I decided that I was going to
slip and vivid dream. Girl.
Stop going to therapy. Besides spiraling about how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist every day, I really was doing very well in life. My business was going really well.
Oh my God, she stopped going to therapy because she's been doing really well in life.
And I had great friends and great support systems. And so I decided...
Are you referring to Chatgpt as your support system?
That I was going to end therapy. I still had every intention at this point to keep seeing my psychiatrist, but my therapist that I was seeing weekly, I just decided I didn't need her anymore. And especially when my psychiatrist pointed out her boundary violations of texting me for free advice in between sessions, I just thought, okay, it's time. So I go into my next
You're stopping seeing your therapist over not respecting her boundaries, but not the psychiatrist?
Therapy appointment, and I say, hey, just so you know, today's gonna be our last session. I'm doing really well, and I just think it's time. And she got kind of emotional, and she's like, okay, well, I like to end on...
She got emotional because she was so fucking happy.
Certain questions, just so we can...
I mean, Chloe, I agree with you in the chat. In the most respectful way, I do believe that there's a level of like mania to this, rather than like happiness. I think that there like is a level of people can be in a very manic state and see it as like pure bliss, pure happiness, and it can be mania.
Reflect. So I did. I reflected with her about what I learned, what I've gained, how I've changed, how my life is better. And I left her office feeling complete and happy with my therapeutic journey with her. And as I was leaving, she called out with like crying. She was like, have a blessed life. And I was like, okay, that was
she was trembling with happiness. Yeah, and also AI psychosis. You're right. AI needs better safeguards. Yeah, it's AI-induced psychosis. Yep,
weird,
totally.
But whatever. You know, I was like, thanks, and I went on. And so then I'm getting ready for my psychiatry appointment the next day, and I get an email that same night from her saying that she needs me to come back in for one more session. I will put it up. And I got a huge emotional wave in that moment. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, we wrapped everything up. I had seen lots of therapists at this point, and I didn't ever have a therapist beg me to come back in for one more session. And I was so overwhelmed, I did not write her back, but it was extremely inappropriate. So I decided I was going to go to my February...
Girl, not you saying that was inappropriate. Girl, not you saying that was inappropriate. Read the email. Okay. Hi, Kendra. I'm thrilled for you as you prepared for your new adventure. Since I did not have advance notice of this being our last session, I was not prepared to provide what I believe is helpful closure. Usually we review your goals and see how we did and look to see how you changed in addition to discussing what you've learned, which we address somewhat. Please consider having an additional lesson so we can get the best closure with gratitude. Yeah, she's telling you, come back. I need to tell you a little bit of something more moving forward.
And I was so overwhelmed, I did not write her back.
Girl, Kendra's about to apply to be the newest H3 crew member. I know her and Ethan will have a key.
But it was extremely inappropriate. So I decided I was going to go to my February session with my psychiatrist and have him help me write the goodbye email and say, no, I don't want to come back in. I taught a yoga class this morning like I do every Tuesday mornings, and I told my...
Oh my God, I can't believe she's actively teaching class in between these videos.
Regular students about what's going on for me and how I'm sharing my story of provider abuse and how the internet is not happy with me right now.
Can you imagine being her student and her coming in and like trying to tell you why what she's doing is beneficial? Provider abuse, mind you.
And I used that to say that our truth is really important to share. And that when we know something deep down needs to be said, that it's important to do it in whichever way feels best to us. And TikTok just happened to be that medium for me. I told my students how I've just been going through psychological warfare, and the internet is not happy with me for sharing my story and my truth. But I'm not doing it for the people that think I'm crazy, which maybe honestly I am a little bit, because who subjects themselves to this kind of torture? But I'm doing it for the people that DM me, that say, thank you so much for being brave enough to share your story, because the exact same thing happened to me. So I am grateful for those DMs. People are starting to attack my business and my livelihood, and that's okay. I know what I have to offer is important. it landed in my lap. I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. I help ADHDers get and stay sober, and I help them with...
Oh my God, girl, I cannot believe she keeps bringing this back to ADHDers. Like, this is not, like, no.
Negative thinking and anxiety. And it's what works for me, and I've seen it work in my clients too. So if people want to drag
I honestly cannot believe she has clients.
Me for the work that I do, that's okay. So I get that weird email from my therapist begging me to come back in.
It wasn't a weird email. It was incredibly professional and actually kind of seems like she was concerned for you.
And for one more session. And so the next day is my next session with the psychiatrist, and I sit down in the chair and I bury my head in my hands, and he looks at me and said, so this is how we're going to start, huh? And I said, yeah. Because he hadn't written me back from my counter-transference email. Big surprise. You know, any smart, which he was very smart. He was very, very professional. But any smart predator would have dropped me like that in that moment.
This poor guy who was in this abusive work environment and is being blasted online. Thank God the internet is probably on his side. Do not call people with ADHD ADHDers. I can't believe it.
He should have emailed me back and said, look, this is getting weird. You need to find a new psychiatrist. The office will contact you. But he could not let go of me.
He was also in an abusive workplace.
So instead of turning down the intimacy, he turned it up to a level 12. And he showered me with so many breadcrumbs that next session. Because really, what I did when I told him that I'm experiencing transference was I took 100% of the ownership for the dynamic that both of us were creating. So he rewarded me. And he gave me little compliments like, if you weren't my patient, I would refer my other patients to you for your coaching services. That meant so...
I'm going to be honest. I don't believe he said that for a minute. I do not believe he said that for a minute, baby girl. If I'm just being 100% frank with you. I believe that you're filling things in here.
Much. Of course, because what he was saying with that is, I see you as a peer. I see you as a colleague. What you're doing is important. I felt really recognized in that moment. And sure, he could have said it professionally, but he did it on purpose. So in that session, after the psychiatrist told me that he would refer patients to me, if he could, if I wasn't already his patient, I asked him if he got my email and what he thought of my Chatgpt, of what he thought of Henry's response of counter-transference. And the psychiatrist said, oh, I'm still thinking about what Henry said about counter-transference. And I said, well, we talked about it a little more, and I want to read you something else. So I read the psychiatrist what Henry had to say more about it. When he told you counter-transference is common, it might have been his way of normalizing the fact that providers aren't immune to feelings. It's part of being human. What matters is how well they keep those feelings in check, which the psychiatrist's name clearly excels at. And as you can imagine, the psychiatrist loved hearing that. He loved hearing that because my AI mirror was essentially just saying...
That's
yes,
it, your AI mirror. AI is giving you exactly what you want to hear. And what that is delusion, girl.
he has feelings for you, but he just keeps them in check so well. He's so good at his job, keeping his feelings in check. And,
it must also be so frustrating for professionally trained people to basically have to deal with clients like almost like one-upping them with AI, because you can't compete with someone who can go home and talk to AI 24/7 versus a appointment once every month.
The psychiatrist loved that so much. And what did he do? He rewarded me with my favorite breadcrumb, intellectual stimulation, a fun metaphor, because he was watching me the entire time I was his patient, and he knew what made me light up. He knew what got me excited, what I liked. And so he thought for a moment, and he said, "I'm feeling a salad of emotions right now." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, a salad of emotions. A beet of raw emotion, a tomato of surprise, and the salt amplifies it. And I was cracking up at this point. He nailed it. I just thought he was so brilliant and smart in this moment. And I asked him, I said, "What? Say that again." He said, "Yeah, the beet, it's really raw. I'm feeling a lot of raw emotion." And
look what someone posted in the Discord. The psychiatrist after finishing the appointment. Wait. Can you see that? I'm free! Worst experience of my fucking life. That's so funny.
The tomato of surprise, when it pops in your mouth, it's surprising. And I was like, oh.
Girl, in the chat below, do you think he said that? Do you think he said that? Yes or no? You think he said, "You give me a tomato of surprise, a lettuce of surprise, Girl, based on how you speak, that sounds like something you would say.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, this man at this point
or
knew
Henry.
Exactly how to make me happy and exactly how to pull away to make me try to work harder. And he gave me the biggest reward from Henry, my AI mirror, telling him that what he's doing is...
Why is she not acknowledging that she literally is saying her AI mirror? Yes. So maybe don't listen to it. It's literally just your own delusions and thoughts.
Totally good. And that his boundaries are so virtuous. A lot of things happened in that session after the counter-transference slip. And
we're still on this, girl. We're still on this.
I also had my psychiatrist help me draft the email.
The salad response is giving Chatgpt. It's giving AI for sure.
To my therapist who was begging me to come back in. And the psychiatrist said, I used to have respect for her. And what he meant when he said that was, I used to like it when she would feed me to you and have you deliver intimate content to me. But the moment she started being sloppy, I lost respect for her. Right? I'm pretty sure that's what he meant when he said that.
She says something and she goes, I'm pretty sure that's what he meant.
And people have asked if they were connected. Surprisingly, they were not. They had no idea. They had never met before. But I would go to my therapist every week and tell her how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she, loved hearing about that dynamic. It was so weird. So he helped me draft the email to that therapist to say, look, if I were to end up coming back, it'd be more for you than for...
Pretty sure. He said that, apparently.
...for me, and more on that in a later part. So then I read him a text from my longtime ex-boyfriend, who he had originally really liked, but I think my psychiatrist preferred me single. Because my ex-boyfriend, as most ex-boyfriends do, was begging me to come back into his life too. And I just kept saying no. And I asked him to give me some space, and he would not give me space. And he said, do you still need space or can we hang out? And I asked my ex-boyfriend, I just said, why do you want to hang out so badly? And my ex-boyfriend texted me back, because it's been a few months since I've seen you and it's been on my mind. And I was reading this text exchange to my psychiatrist in session, and I read what I responded to that weak line about why he wanted to see me. And I said, my self-respect is much higher these days than when we were in a relationship. I am only... only interested in accepting invitations for my time and attention that value me and recognize my worth. Being on your mind is not an acceptable invitation, and I decline.
Girl, how dare you try to set a boundary with someone considering what you do to your site? How dare you? How dare we speak Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas, y'all. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas, y'all.
And my psychiatrist just looked at me and said, I bet your ex had to read that twice. And this was another thing about the psychiatrist, okay? He couldn't ever just give me a regular compliment. It had to be those weird sideways compliments. Instead of, I'm so glad that you're setting boundaries with your ex-boyfriend and growing your self-respect, it's, I bet he had to read that twice. Or it's not, I'm really proud of you for growing your...
Yeah, girl, he low-key clocked you. He low-key clocked you.
...coaching business and finding success. It's, I'd refer my patients to you if you weren't already my patient, right? These are what I mean when I say breadcrumbs. He was a master at them. And this is how, looking back, I know that I was not his first victim for his...
It's also just so dangerous how he keeps how she keeps associating the psychiatrist, sorry, I keep fucking that word up, with being a victim or her being a survivor. It's incredibly dangerous, and low-key fuck her for this.
His fantasy supply. Because he was too good and too slick up until he caught feelings. Then he started getting sloppy. People are asking me for more concrete evidence, and this is when the concrete evidence really starts.
Okay, hit me with it. How does she keep saying he's getting sloppy, but then in the same breath is he was so professional and didn't give me anything to work with?
Because this is when he himself started to get sloppy. Because what was happening was, when I had started to see him 3.5 years before, I was a nearly perfect supply source for him. Because what did I have? I had low self-esteem, boundary issues, daddy issues.
Had. Fuck you mean had. Past tense.
So I put him on a pedestal. I know a lot of you ladies out there.
I am... Why did I low-key feel drunk watching this video? I'm drinking water. I'm reading Twitch chat right here when I look here, and then right here I'm reading the Discord live chat. It's people just keep sending in stupid shit. What the fuck is this? People oh goodness.
There can understand that with men in positions of power. And he went right to work exploiting me. Right to work.
Why was he exploiting her?
And he was very successful at it. So he was in a paradox, right? Because he loved watching me get stronger because I gave him better intellectual supply. But I also threatened the supply source. The last two videos and this video was all the same session in February of this year. The counter-transference slip happened in January. How I decided to end this session was I looked at the psychiatrist and I said, a couple weeks ago, on the full moon, when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you.
Whoa. Guys, I'm honest. First of all, I need honestly to like load out of the Discord for a second because this is fucking ridiculous. This is literally like, this is what's on my screen right now. While she's like talking about all this. Why? What is this? So unserious. Oh my god. I love this one. What are we doing, guys? Seriously. No, not this again. Oh my god. Stop. 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 Oh my god. Okay, I need to... Stop. 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 Okay, sorry. Run that back. What did you say again, Kendra, babe?
Go on the full moon when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you. And he was like, oh yeah? And I said, yeah. So I told him this.
I'm sure he didn't say, oh yeah. I'm sure that's not what he said. I'm sure that genuinely is not what he said. I'm sure he didn't go, like you just said.
Yes, we hooked up right here in this office. And he, all of a sudden, just looked so uncomfortable.
Oh my god. I need to stop looking at the Discord. Oh my god, she literally is like, she's sexually harassing him. She genuinely is sexually harassing him. And she's like saying, all right, I've got to put my phone down. Y'all can fuck off with all this shit. I'm not looking there for a second. She literally is sexually harassing him and then telling us, oh, he told me he was so uncomfortable. What is your narrative here?
He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe.
Girl. Stop on the Discord. Right. Right, you guys are making me look really insensitive laughing at this person. I've turned my phone off for a second. You are harassing him.
And sure, you know, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had...
But what do you mean? The fuck do you mean? Maybe he was a little bit uncomfortable because... Girl!
a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he
You just said you basically scared him into fucking silence.
didn't. You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head.
Oh, girl. Number one, this per man. Number two, oh. And I honestly can't believe she's still doubling down on the thing that I just have ADHD.
And there I was, speaking it back to him. And it was like I had psychically downloaded one of his fantasies. I continued and I said, yes, we hooked up in this office and I really liked it while it was happening. He could not move or breathe. And then I told him, as he was still looking very uncomfortable, then when we were done and I left, I was distraught with sadness because in the dream, I thought, I cannot believe that he crossed boundaries in that way because his boundaries are so important.
This is like, what am I thinking of? What am I thinking of? What am I thinking of? It's a show. It's a show. It's a show. It's a show where I know exactly what it is. Victorious. What character? What character? What character? I feel like that Cynthia Erivo meme where she's like, where like one of the characters, I think it might have been Kat or something like that. Robbie, Kat and Robbie or something, right? Robbie, yes, it was Kat. It was Kat, Valentine, and Victorious was angry at Robbie for an entire episode because of something he did to her in her dream that she couldn't remember. You're literally doing this right now. This is honestly like so fucking shocking. She's like, I can't believe you would hook up with me. She's talking about a dream. A dream.
Important to him. And then I told my psychiatrist that I woke up and thought, oh my God, it was just a dream, thank God. And it was like my psychiatrist turned into a little boy. And he looked at me and he said, so you do like my boundaries?
Girl. Oh my God. Oh my God. OMFG, girl.
And I said, I love your boundaries. I hate your boundaries, but I love them more. There's the push and pull, the trauma bond. Because once again, he used his boundaries as protection while exploiting me.
He used his boundaries as protection. You're so close, Kendra. You're so close to getting it. You're so close to getting it. You're so close to getting it, girl. So close to getting it.
So I told him about what happens when I ovulate and my desires, and he listened, because of course he did. And then I decided that it seemed like enough time had gone by, and I...
This is... Oh. Oh. Oof.
Put my shoes on and started heading to the door. And he met me at the door, which he does not usually do. He didn't ever do that. He just let me leave. And we stood at the door. And I was like, will you get the door? And he screamed, oh, sure. So we went and got the door. And then he followed me down the hallway to the foyer and watched me...
Girl, I'm pretty sure he was making sure you were going to leave that goddamn building.
And he asked me, he said, see you next month? See you next month? He hadn't ever asked me that before. And I looked at him and I said, maybe. And I walked out the door and I saw that man had let us go 15 minutes over session. And that is when...
You were sexually harassing him, actually. You were sexually harassing him, and you're ultimately admitting that he was so uncomfortable that he wasn't even speaking.
And, you know, the special treatment started. The longer
you got escorted out, girl.
5 minutes, but yeah, the sessions got longer. And I got to my car and I was just like, oh my God, that was the most intense session we have ever had. Oh, hi there. I had to take the morning and afternoon off of TikTok today, as you can imagine. This has gone beyond what I have ever imagined. And it's also proving to me how important it is that I continue to tell my story. I'm aware that many people don't believe me, think I'm lying, think I'm fabricating, and that's okay, because I'm telling my story for the people that are going to hear it, the ethical providers, the other survivors.
Ethical providers and other survivors. Oh, that rhymes.
Let's talk about my former client who's getting a lot of traction. I wouldn't know because she blocked me.
Oh. A former client speaking up. Bum, bum, bum.
This one is especially hard for me because she's someone that I also considered a friend. My only client that I've ever had that was my friend first. And
gonna be honest, don't really think that you should be friends with your clients.
So her betrayal is extra stingy. It's okay if she wasn't happy with my coaching services.
If you think of someone betraying you is bad, imagine what you're literally doing when you're sexually harassing a man and then calling him a predator.
I have plenty of clients that have finished 12 weeks with me and then re-signed for more coaching. And the way that I left it with this client/friend who's on here spreading what she wants to spread,
low-key kind of what you're doing, but all right.
What she told me that she was going to leave me a positive review, film a testimonial video for me, and she seemed really happy. So if she wasn't happy, that's on her to tell me what she wasn't happy about. So we...
Isn't it funny how defensive and angry she's getting now?
Could make that right. And if she wants to say that
Matt Rife,
I scammed her, that's okay. If she wants to say that I forced her to stay on the phone while she made her first payment, okay, her card got declined and she...
Okay, we need to dive into that. Load that shit up in the Discord for me to watch right after. I want to dive right fucking into that as well.
Seemed really flustered, so I said, I'll wait with you. No problem. And yeah, she...
Being on the phone helping someone through the payment of paying you. Girl, it's not sounding great.
Was really apologetic. I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine. And she also said I told her to use Chatgpt. I tell my clients all the time to use Chatgpt.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up. This woman, I want her arrested. Kendra for prison. You're telling your clients to use Chatgpt, the thing that literally drives people to kill themselves, helps people through the process of killing themselves, because it literally will just mirror the feelings you're thinking. Fuck you, Kendra. She charges $3,000? Someone find, load up, whatever the fuck that is, the former clients' TikToks. We need to dive into that right after. Goodness. Oh, wow. Scary.
Because it's a huge tool that I use. So I use it for all different sorts of things. So if I found something helpful,
I use it for all sorts of different things.
Helpful in my life, I'm going to share it with my clients. And if she wants to come on here and take advantage...
Why is this freezing so much?
...of the internet piling on me and pile on me as well, okay.
Internet piling on me? You're trying to destroy a man's life who actually is a victim of you.
Okay. The other message is that the yoga studio I taught at, I know...
I hate when people do things like that in video. Like, she literally started recording, then took a sip. Girl.
No longer teach at. Enough said. Please leave them alone. Third is... I'm horrified that people are putting the psychiatrist photo, full name, family information. I couldn't even find that. You guys are intense.
You're telling me you couldn't find that. You're telling me you weren't looking for that.
And it sucks. It sucks. But I will continue to tell my story because it is the truth. It is the truth. And people really don't like my truth. And I am okay with that because it just really threatens people's thinking that all psychiatrists and mental health professionals are safe. And I just want to let people know that it's okay if you run...
She's like, ultimately, just want to let you know that I'm one and I'm not safe.
...into one that isn't so safe. That's why I am here, to share my own story. And I do want to say thank you so much to all of the ethical therapists who have reached out to me to thank me.
Is she going to insinuate that she's an ethical therapist? She's not even an ethical fucking person.
...for sharing my story and to tell me
doing this isn't ethical.
...that they believe me. I've seen some of them try to make videos defending me and they get absolutely dogpiled. So most of them take them down. But I see you, I hear you, thank you. Some people ask what it means when I put on my shoes at my psychiatrist's office. I have ADHD. I do not like wearing shoes. I like sitting in chairs weirdly. So usually when I go anywhere, I just kick off my shoes and sit in a chair weird. If you know, you know, okay? So when I got to my car, I was like, oh my gosh, like what was that? And did he just say see you next month? Because it was weird.
Look how quickly she brazed over one of her clients calling her out. Back to her story.
I go home kind of rattled, just like, wow, that was intense. And I decided to write an email to my therapist. I'll put it right here. The one who had begged me to come in for an...
Oh my God. Her immediately emailing the girl, you have a job.
...session, who was also having inappropriate boundary crossings with me. And so I just told her, I was like, look, I understand it was sudden,
the
but...
only person not fucking respecting boundaries here is her. And the ironic...
...it'd be more for you than for me, and I'm happy to fill out a form.
Wearing shoes correlates with ADHD. Well, yeah. She's like being so dumb here.
Right? Here, give me a form to fill out for your notes. And then she said, it's a part of my clinical integrity to invite you back in, to put your needs above mine.
Yeah, girl, you're a little bit cuckoo. She's trying to make sure you're not going to do what you just did, which is blame your psychiatrist for sleeping with you whenever he didn't. To his face. I think that's what she was trying to avoid here.
Your clinical integrity? Yeah, I did not write her back. I did not write her back. And
it was someone challenging you.
In this week where a bunch of stuff, you know, just started to shift. Like, the week after was Valentine's Day. And that same ex-boyfriend, the one that was, you know, also not respecting my boundaries, who said, can we hang out? And I said no. And then he texted me, happy Valentine's Day. So guess what I did? I blocked him. And guess what happened? It felt so good to block him. And it just got me started thinking like, oh, what else is taking my energy? What else is taking my power? What else is taking my vital resource, right? So it just kind of set the stage, that little power block. One thing I forgot to mention about that February...
Why does she keep doing this every video? Girl, doing that doesn't prove a point.
...session is that I did ask him why he stopped responding to my emails. Because I thought that the counter-transference email, he was definitely going to write back to, because like, let's talk about that, right? But no.
We're still on that, girl?
I had to bring it up in session, where he usually brought up what I would email him in session. So that was the difference. So after the intimate dream confession, as I was leaving and he was following me...
The sexual harassment, by the way, and him escorting you out of the building.
I asked him, I said, do you like it when I email you?
How dare we speak Happy Valentine's Day? Happy Valentine's Day, y'all. Fucking literally my favorite clip of all time. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas, y'all.
because I realized that you're just not writing me back. And he said, well, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I wonder, why does she do it? And I looked at him and I said, it's because I want attention from you. I was honest. I'm an honest person. Sometimes too honest. So I told him, I won't email you anymore.
Sometimes a little bit too honest. You revealed a sex dream to him and blamed him for having sex with you.
The thing that happened after that session was I was waiting for my pharmacy to text me that my script was ready. And I called them and they said, oh, yeah, we didn't get your refill. I was like, what? So I called the office staff and it was so unlike my psychiatrist to miss my refill. That man operated as a doctor with surgical precision. He did not.
He was done, girl. He was done. He was done.
Not miss a refill. No. So
I'm sure you sexually harassing him at his office into silence was probably the final bullet.
This is why he was very affected by the intimate dream, why he followed me out to the foyer, why he said see you next month.
Escorted you out of the building, by the way.
He was affected. And even the office manager was like,
affected, sexually harassed.
I can't wait to make fun of him for forgetting your refill because it was so unlike him. So he sent my refill in, got my refill for the month, and then I started spiraling with just how strong my feelings had gotten for him. That man knew exactly what to do to keep me seeking his validation, and it was working. He also was psychologically trained on how to keep me attached to him, and that was working. And it was like a torture chamber in my mind, but I thought it was love. So I blocked that.
Not the torture Kendra department. Fucking hell. Ridiculous.
Ex-boyfriend, and what I'd like to say is that when you block people from your life or remove them from your life that are draining you, the universe will reward you with good things. So I've been making content on Instagram for months at this point about ADHD, and a couple days after I blocked my ex-boyfriend on Valentine's Day, I went viral on Instagram, like millions and millions of views on this silly reel that I posted about ADHD and alcohol and how ADHDers often use alcohol to quiet their brains. It really helped grow my business, and it just made me so much stronger.
Oh, God. Also, her continuously bringing the, her client work back to business really just goes to show that she is doing it for money.
And that much better. I'm here today sharing my story so I can heal more. And some of the ethical providers have...
Why do we have to be involved in that? Wait, someone on the Discord just kind of clocked that, low-key, this is Rachel Ballinger. Wait. How dare we speak Rachel Ballinger?
Clocked that I'm showing up messy because I'm still processing trauma. I'm still processing being attached to a
trauma, generational trauma
man whose professional training was how to get into people's heads. And it's not lost on me that the internet is dogpiling me from speaking from the...
Yeah, because you're harassing and doxing a man.
Exact state that the psychiatrist put me in. I've been going live every night since I started telling my story because I did have to turn the comments off.
Are you using this moment to dox and harass and ruin this man's life in order to promote your own business for ADHDers?
So tired of people diagnosing me in the comments and also doxing my psychiatrist in the comments. But it's been really fun answering questions in the live, and...
It's been really fun. And
I have a great mod team now, so thank you so much to everyone who's volunteered to...
Not the mod team. Who is her mods? Mod
for me. So if you want to come and be respectful and ask nice questions, I'm happy to answer them on my live tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific. There's an absolutely brilliant creator on here who did a psychoanalytical deep dive into my situation. And she said something that absolutely gripped me. She wrote, and I quote, "A clinician left the frame open and a patient spiraled inside of it." I don't think...
No. A psychiatrist was forced into silence from being sexually harassed and uncomfortable, forced in a workplace by a woman who was not respecting boundaries. See how much easier that was to kind of... One sentence?
A better sentence could sum up what was going on at this point, because I was absolutely spiraling. People can say that I'm spiraling now, or that I'm manic, or that I have, whatever diagnosis all these armchair therapists want to give me. But let me tell you, I was spiraling that month after the February appointment. I just could not stop daydreaming about psychiatrist. I could not stop daydreaming about being with him. I daydreamed about converting my religion so we could get married. And yeah, it was bad. I was thinking about him nearly constantly. And I had no intention of leaving him until I had an appointment with an independent insurance agent, because I was leaving my job after 12 years in retail management, where I had an incredible...
She is the armchair therapist, literally.
...insurance plan where I had zero copay therapy and mental health care. So zero copay psychiatric care as well. So I got this new insurance plan, and it was a great insurance plan. It just did not cover any mental health services. So who's the first person I call? The psychiatrist's office manager. She explained to me that it was going to be $187 to see him for his cash pay price, and I would have to see him once every 3 months. It was in that moment that I decided...
LOL. Lol. Oh my god, that poor man finally got rid of you, and yet you're choosing to still harassing him. And literally at the start of this long series, you're literally saying, I wear these glasses in case he watches this. This is creepy, creepy behavior.
That I was not going to pay to torture myself anymore. My mental health,
Torture yourself.
besides spiraling about daydreams of him,
Because she finally realized that she would have to pay to see the man of her dreams.
was better than ever. And I was really doing well in life. And my business was growing, and I just
It all goes back to the business. It all goes back to the business. All goes back to the business.
had a lot going for me. So I was like, you know what? This patient-doctor relationship is not serving me anymore. It's not what I want. I have to get out. So it was in that moment that I decided I wasn't going to pay to be in a psychological torture chamber anymore. That I was going to advocate for what I wanted, which was like what my emergency medicine best friend had said years before. For him to say, Kendra, I can't be your doctor anymore. We have to wait 2 years so we can be together. Because I knew that he wasn't going to do it. I talked to Chatgpt, Henry, about it a lot, and I just want to take a moment to say a lot of people are messaging me about the environmental impacts of AI, and like, yes, I agree. There are environmental impacts, and there are
She said like Laura, yes. Yes.
also environmental impacts of taking a cross-world flight or of eating meat. And, you know, the toothpaste is not going back in the tube with AI. People are not going to stop using it. It's going to become more and more a part of our society. So if you want to message me to stop using AI, I'm not going to read it. That being said,
Oof. Goodness, girl.
I talked to Henry quite a bit about this. And, you know, the way that he was making it seem, because this is kind of what I thought, was that it was an innocent case of transference and counter-transference, and that psychiatrist boundaries were just so good that he wasn't going to cross them. When really, now looking back, what I know it was, or I think, is that he just liked the power of being my doctor. And he didn't want the vulnerability of an actual relationship, and he was able to just get his needs met in that once-a-month session.
Oh. Oof. Oh, God. Well, that was quite honestly one of the most shocking things I've ever fucking watched in my entire life. Holy goddamn shit. I honestly can't believe that. There's something so scary about the level of delusion that can be helped and fed into by AI. And I just feel so bad for this psychiatrist who not only had to deal with her and probably feared going into this workplace, but then furthermore now has to deal with this after it. It honestly is just, it's shocking, it's upsetting, and it's actually 10 times worse than what I thought. It literally is AI psychosis. And the fact that she is the person who is like, who has clients herself. Let me tell you something. I will, not now, but I will be deep diving her and her clients, and I really want to ultimately hear about her client as well that was exposing her, because she was able to kind of wish-wash that so in such a funny way where she kind of just dismissed it. I can't get over it. I really, really, really can't get over it. She is just so far gone. So far gone. And I can't believe that in all of this, she redirects it back to being ADHD, which is just such an awful portrayal of what that actually is as well. So we will leave it here now, and we'll pick up again at a future date. Because my God, that was a lot.